All right, welcome to another edition of Buck What You Heard. My name is Gene. You can reach me at Super Heavyweight. And I'm really excited to have as my guest tonight, Michael Pless from Real Bucs Talk. You've seen him on a few times, and he's really exciting to check out. Be sure to check out his articles at Real Bucs Talk. And Michael, why don't you introduce yourself and tell everybody how they can get a hold of you?
Yeah, hey, Bucs Nation. As Gene said, I'm Michael Pless with Real Bucs Talk. You can follow us on Twitter and Facebook at Real Bucs Talk, or you can go check us out at realbucstalk.blogspot.com. It's just everything Buccaneers. We love, talking about the players, coaches, anything draft, free agency, game breakdowns, which we got coming up. So it's just something new and fresh, and we're just happy to talk Bucs football.
All right. Hey, before we get really into this, I want to take a moment to say get well soon to Teddy Bridgewater. He's one of those guys. He's a football player. I'm a football fan. I'm a Bucs fan, but I'm a football fan as well. And he's one of those players that I've always loved to watch, even in college. Up till now, I just love this guy. I like his demeanor. I like his attitude. When he dropped down in the draft, he was still a great person. So I hope he gets well soon, and I wish him a speedy recovery and come back and listen and make some plays for your team, man. But that's unfortunate. Is one of the casualties of preseason, and preseason's like a landmine. You just gotta hope you can get through it with limited injuries. And we see that with the Bucs. The Bucs have some players nicked up. But we have some players that are coming back, so we'll definitely touch on that tonight. First and foremost, I want to start with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus the Cleveland Browns. That game was a great game to get a good chance to look at our starters and see how our starters are progressing, our number one guys. So I wanted to ask you on the I'm going to start with the defensive side, and I'm going to work backwards this time. Start with the defensive side. Give me your take on the defense, and that would include the secondary, the linebackers. Just your thoughts on how everything flowed for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say first quarter. I mean, they weren't perfect. There was a couple instances where getting that consistent pressure on RG3 was a little inconsistent as far as every snap. Don't like to see the deep ball downfield to Josh Gordon, but that guy's he's one of the better receivers in the league. Thought as a whole, as a unit, I thought they did well. I thought third down defense could have been a little bit better, a little bit tighter is what I would have liked to seen. In quarter, I thought they really turned it on. They ended up with 8 sacks overall in the game. So that was exciting to see. I thought, Vernon Hargreaves again was one of the studs. He just keeps showing good things. But overall, I thought there's still work to be done. I thought the run game a little iffy. They allowed some runs that I thought they could have stopped. But decent. It was a pretty good performance. And you could see the difference that Gerald McCoy makes. Just the way, I think at one point there was like 3 guys blocking him at one point. So it just shows how much impact he has. But overall, I thought the defense was pretty sound.
Yeah. And you can tell a difference in the upgrades that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have made from last year to this. And I know everybody, and I'm going to go ahead and preface this so I don't have to do this the rest of the show. I know it's Cleveland Browns. I know it's preseason. But what I'm saying is, based on what I saw last year and the lack of preparedness and the lack of execution and the lack of discipline, you can tell a difference from what you saw last year to this point right now. And that's my point, is you're able to see there is market improvement compared to what we have been seeing as fans. So that's what I take from it. And a guy that, we've been talking about him since before the draft, Noah Spence is proving to be that player that we possibly thought that he could have been. And, I know you talked about him, and I've talked about him at length, and, what we thought about this guy. And he's made plays. Another guy that I've gone out on a limb to talk about, and I still believe that he's going to be an impact player at some point in this season, is Howard Jones. Howard Jones is going to be that guy eventually. And, it may not look like it now because of where he is and where everybody is in the on the roster. But as the season goes on, if you have injuries, every chance that he's gotten to get on the field, he's made the most of those chances. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go back to Noah Spence. The guy just has elite get off, and then he showed his motor in this last week's game. Just he would get upfield too quickly and kind of overrun the ball a little bit, but then he showed great plays as far as his hustle and getting back into the play. I think there was one play where there was a draw, and he kind of overran. He got by his guy pretty quickly, then came back to the football and pretty much knocked the running back out. That was a good play to see, and then. On the screenplay, he gets upfield a little bit again too far, hustles down the field, and he tackles the running back. So the guy just has elite motor, and I think he's still developing. He's still young. He's just going to keep getting better. And Joe Thomas was talking with Noah Spence back in practice when they're practicing at one Buck, and he's telling him don't telegraph your moves, before the ball is snapped. And I thought that was just great, insider information as far as, kid, because he knows how good he can be. So I thought that was cool to hear. And then, Howard Jones, me and you have been talking about him, over the last year. Whenever he gets out on the field, he's going to end up with a sack or, some type of big play. And he's always there around the football.
Yeah, I like that. And I like the fact that the Bucs have a rotation to some point. You could bring somebody else in. You could bring in a different package, like a speed package, like a Noah Spence and a Jacques Smith. And how do you game plan for that? And then you have to worry about somebody that comes in with power and not finesse. And then you have to continually switching those guys out. That's going to be a nightmare for offenses. And I'm just talking about the front four. I'm not even talking about the linebackers. And what's scary, and if you're not scared or not nervous about the Bucs defense, keep this in mind. They haven't even been scheming for people. Right. And that's the one thing. They've come in with these vanilla plays on defense, and you haven't seen what they're really going to do. So, just think about that, what they're doing with just basic plays, a rush, a blitz here and there. Just look what they're doing with that, just with that information there, and think about what they're going to be like when they're planning schemes and they're putting people in position to go after and get the quarterback.
Right, yeah. In this past game, they played a lot more man coverage, and they also showed a little bit more blitzes as far as their zero coverage looks. Basically, sitting the linebackers more, which was cool to see. Quan Alexander got a sack. Defense can play man, when the pressure's there, and hopefully, this year we get a lot more turnovers, which I think we will, just with the playmakers we have. In the secondary. And on that one play that, Grimes got beat, he was just being aggressive. And, unfortunately, sometimes he's going to get beat because he's an aggressive player by nature. And that's how our defense is going to be. It's going to be aggressive, and we're going to make, the quarterback move. And that's the key to winning.
Yeah. And, fans, please don't jump out the window because of Brent Grimes. And, I don't talk about the refs. I don't get on the refs a whole lot. But that touchdown, it looked to me like a little bit of this.
Yeah, pass interference. Yeah.
And I'm not saying that. I'm not using those words. I'm saying it looked a little bit like that. But to me, I think it was a solid pickup to bring Brent Grimes in. I think he's going to be an upgrade over this team.
Mhm.
I look at a lot of the players that were on the secondary that are no longer on the team, and I look at what we have, and I'm pleasantly surprised
Mhm.
with what we have on this in the secondary now, and as opposed to what we had last year. The one thing that I still am quite unsure about is the safety position, and
Mhm.
we'll see. We're going to see. I think if the front four can get that push on the quarterback, I think if they can use the linebackers, Mike Smith can get people to play to their strengths. I think we should be fine with the safety position as long as people are playing in their assignments. I don't think that should be much of a problem.
Right. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, I think the defense will do a good job of covering their weaknesses and playing to their strengths, and that's what good defenses do. Because not every position is going to be strong. You're going to have weak players on your defense. It's the defense coordinator's job to make sure that guys are in position where they can play their best, and I think that's what Mike Smith is doing here. He's allowing guys like Levante David to be more aggressive and play his kind of style where he can blitz the quarterback and cover when he needs to cover, and mostly man coverage is what he's good at. So um, Chris Conte, I think is going to be fine. Bradley McDougall, who I think he's been kind of disappointing so far, which is why we're seeing a little bit more of Keith Tandy in there, who I think is very instinctive. Um, so I mean, like I said, Mike Smith he knows what he's doing. I think they're going to be in a good position where they can hide that as far as a perceived weakness.
Yeah. And, we're still talking about the defense here. Just Quan Alexander, you can see where he's really growing with this team, and he's continually getting better. And that's one thing that I really appreciate about him is that he's picked up his study habits, and he's trying to be a better player than he was. He's trying to raise his game. So that's something else that Bucs fans can look forward to. We don't have to worry about suspensions or anything like that. God forbid we don't have any injuries. Let's just hope that this guy can go out there and make plays.
Mhm. Yeah, right on. Yeah, I mean, Quan is just showing leadership every day. He's being more vocal. Levante David said earlier this offseason that he can't get him to shut up, which is good. He's being himself, and he's getting comfortable in this defense, and I think he'll be fine. The guy has extreme athleticism, and I'm excited to see what he does in a full season, and I think he's just going to keep getting better. It's going to be really exciting to watch those two, and especially with Daryl Smith as far as our veteran leader back there too. So it's going to be good to watch.
Yeah. Now let's jump over to the offense, and I'm going to come back to you again with the same kind of questions. Let's get your assessment
Mm-hmm.
of the offense, what they did, and we'll start with things you like, and we'll kind of work our way back to the things that you thought that there might be some degree of concern with.
They started the game off with a great play. It was well designed, perfectly executed. They started off with a play action over the middle to Vincent Jackson. It was just perfectly executed as far as the blocking scheme. I put a tweet out of it earlier this past week. The It's a perfect pocket for Jameis Winston. He had pretty much all day to step in. Uh, and it was just a well-designed play. I really like how Dirk Cutter, designs his blocking schemes and makes sure Jameis has, a good pocket to throw out of. So that was a great start. And the other things I liked was that, the no huddle, which they pretty much ran the whole first half, which was exciting to see. And they really got into rhythm. And Jameis loves playing out of the no huddle, so that was cool to see. And I thought, the three wide receiver sets was smart. You get the Browns out of that 3-4 defense, kind of spread them out a little bit, which was exciting. That's probably why the running game wasn't that effective, because we're pretty much running out of 4 wide sets. Didn't really see a lot of 2 tight end, 3 tight end heavy sets where we can really dominate as far as the ground game goes. But it was just cool to see that no huddle, and it was hot, man. It was running good. Jameis was throwing some ropes. I mean, he wasn't connecting every time, but man, the ball was coming out, and it was coming out with timing and precision, and that's what you look for.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to jump in here real quick. Have you noticed how nice Jameis's throwing motion is compared to last year?
Mm-hmm. How tight it's much tighter. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's just overall smoothness, and the ball's coming out with timing. Like I said, I mean, it's drop back 1-2, and ball's out, and that's just great to see. And this offense is so well designed for him because it's a lot of deeper drops as far as his 5 and 7 step drops, which he likes. You get a nice deeper pocket back there. And I just like how Cutter designs the plays as far as getting 5 and 6 man blocking fronts. You just look at that first play. You have ASJ who stays in on the line and does a great job of taking the right defensive end out. Jonathan Smith to kick inside and help in on the inside. So it was just I can't say enough about it as far as the design and the execution. But overall, I thought the offense did very well, especially that first half. Second half, it was pretty much crap, but that's the second half.
Yeah, and one guy that really has stepped his game up, Austin Seferian-Jenkins. I look for him to be a weapon for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And the nice thing is nobody's talking about him. I listen to a lot of fantasy football drafts. I'm retired personally. Won my championship, by the way, 2015 fantasy football champion in my league. But it's not important right now. When I listen to who these guys like as players, and you hear about Doug Martin, you hear about Jameis Winston in the late rounds, but you don't hear anything about our tight ends. And one thing that last year did for Tampa, especially on offense, were the injuries allowed players like Cameron Brate to get playing time. This was very valuable for him to get that on-the-job training and catch, the lion's share of the balls with Austin Seferian-Jenkins injured. Now, based on what Dirk Cutter likes to do with tight ends, based on how Jameis Winston likes his tight ends, I feel like these are two very big weapons that are never really mentioned, and we really haven't gotten to see a whole lot of that in the preseason. So I think that, fans, we could look forward to seeing these tight ends being used as weapons. So, as far as that goes, I love what they've done. I'm happy with the line. You had a patchwork offensive line, and you had all these guys that were out there, and they played well. And, this isn't the starting unit you were looking at. These are guys that were replacing injured guys, and they were doing a pretty decent job. So, for me, hats off to the offensive line for what they were able to accomplish in that game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And, going back to the tight end position, we really haven't seen, fully what this tight end group is going to be capable of as far as this season goes, just because they haven't been, we really haven't been featuring them as far as, the passing game. And I think that's, something to come, especially this last game where it was more designed to, feature the 3 wide receiver sets, just because we were spreading them out, getting them out of that 3-4 look. And you could pretty much, attack them with that 3 wide receivers. Adam Humphries had a big game, and Vincent Jackson, Mike Evans, and Evans was tremendous, but big part of this passing game. I've written a bunch of articles on the tight ends as far as, and Jameis loves Cameron Brate. He loves throwing him the ball. And ASJ is, one of his close friends too. So I think they're going to be more featured as we go along in the season. And it's pretty dangerous. I mean, if you think about it, the Bucs really don't need to go to the tight end as they didn't in this past game. And they pretty much moved up and down the field. So they're pretty versatile as far as, you can go to your receivers, go to your tight ends, go to your running backs. There's options here for the offense, and that's what you're looking for. And it's going to be a fun season for the offense, I think.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And another thing that I saw and I really haven't heard a lot of people talking about it, was Mike Evans catching those balls, catching them. And
Yeah.
and I talked about this last season. I said Mike Evans is going to be all right. And everybody's like, oh, he dropped all these balls. He fell off. He's not going to be good anymore. And people comparing him to Michael Clayton, the stone-handed devil. And, it's not. You're talking about two totally different players here. You're talking about a guy in the grand scheme of things that has a total of 5 years of football under his belt. And that means I'm talking about your senior year of high school, a couple of years in college, and then here we are in the pros. So, you have to look at the grand scheme in order to understand what's going on. And I know people have all these high expectations for him, but he hasn't really been playing all that long. And he's still learning the nuances of being a wide receiver.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's done a great job. Yeah, he had that drop-off, but I think with the fact that he doesn't have any injuries, knock on wood, injuries, he can come in and work with the first team and be on the same page and not have to put all this stuff and, not have to worry about trying to play catch-up. He can come in and he can do what he does. And you could see the focus that he's showing compared to last year just based on these couple of games that I've been watching him.
Yeah, I mean, the guy's zoned in. He's come into, this off season and the season, the best shape of his life. He's down at 225. I think last year he was playing up at 240. So, I mean, he's faster, he's quicker, and he's just showing the determination out there. And you look at that, the couple of grabs he had, the big plays. I mean, he just catches it with his hands, just snuck that ball out of the air. So, that was refreshing to see. But, before that touchdown pass, you could see him and Evans on the same page there. They kind of make a motion one another. And Jameis did a great job of, checking out that run play. And Evans makes a great, up and out move. And the safety busted coverage, and it was just a perfect ball and great adjustment and touchdown. So I think he's going to be fine. Like me and you said, I think he's going to have a big year. But again, going back to the offensive line, I just want to quickly say Josh Allen really stood out to me. I thought he played tremendous. I think he's got a spot on this team. He was the starting left guard Friday's game, and I thought just his physical nature, his run blocking was good, pass blocking. I thought he was just very aggressive and had a really great game. So I just wanted to point that out. But yeah, I think Evans will be fine.
Is there anybody else who stood out to you on the offensive line or on offense that nobody's really talking about that you feel like really made a good case for making this team?
As far as making the team, Josh Allen, I think, is a lock now, just the way he performed. But, overall, I think the team is pretty much set as far as guys. I was happy for Kenny Bell. I thought, he got his first catch. That was good to see, just to boost his confidence.
Mike Glennon has some garbage throws, though, man. I mean, I'm sorry,
yeah.
And if you ask, like, Peter Blake always teases me about Mike Glennon because I was always of the mind that Mike Glennon deserved to compete for the starting position. He should have nobody should just have it handed to him unless you're like a first-round pick or a very expensive free agent that's brought in. I think there should be competition. But just basically, I think I've seen all I needed to see from Mike Glennon to know what we have with Mike Glennon. So, I'm happy with where we are at quarterback and just seeing some of the throws, seeing some of the decision-making. I just wish that these second-string guys could get a chance to play with the first team just to see if that makes a difference, if the quarterback can make a difference. I understand you're supposed to catch the ball, but at the same time, the quarterback should put you in a position to where you can catch the ball. So, I mean, there may be some argument about that, and I'm cool with that, but that's just my observation was that what we're seeing from Kenny Bell, he may have a different look with a different quarterback. So, there's that.
I mean, and another guy that I'll say is that impressed me. I thought Peyton Barber did a great job. I thought he had a really good game. Um, Very, tough physical runner. He reminds me a lot of Charles Sims. Catches the ball very well, elusive, powerful runner. So, and Sims impresses me again. I mean, I thought he played outstanding in this past game. That adjustment he made on that touchdown catch, I thought was terrific. Just finding that open space, Jameis got just enough time and delivered a perfect ball to him. I thought that was exciting to see. And again, he makes plays. He's going to be one of our big playmakers. So, but as far as other guys, I don't know. It was tough to see anybody that really stood out, especially in that second half. I thought Bernard Reedy did a good job, especially on the return game. I thought he was a guy to watch for. And I think he's going to make the team now. But
Yeah, I felt really bad for Storm Johnson.
Storm, he had a great game against Jacksonville, and then not too good this game. Fumbles on I think his first snap. Then didn't play much after that. So it's just unfortunate, but he'll get another chance, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree with that. So, what we'll do, we'll kind of go down the line, and we've talked about defense, we talked about offense, and I want to touch on special teams. And I'm going to save the kicker for last. But what did you think about special teams? And we're going to start with defense. Did you think there were players that made cases to latch onto this team with special teams that had some versatility that they could potentially be used in other spots as well?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I thought the special teams as a whole did a great job, especially throughout the whole game. Um, again, Noah Spence and Howard Jones show up on special teams. I mean, they're guys that I thought the linebackers. We re-signed Jeremiah George today. I thought he always does great things on special teams. Just as far as getting on the field is his issue, but he did great things too. I thought Darius Glanton stood out, real speed guy, makes plays. And then on the offensive side of the ball, I thought Danny Vitale really stood out as far as special teams, just because he has a linebacker body and he can move. I mean, he made a lot of open field tackles, and I thought he did a great job.
Now,
defense.
while you're talking, and I'm going to cut you off, while you're talking about Danny Vitale, we haven't really seen a whole lot of him in the preseason, and I'm wondering, is it his skill set? Is the plays that I've seen him in? He's looked okay on some plays, but have they put him in a position where we could see the best of what he can do in the preseason? Or what are your thoughts on him right now? I know that he's a late round pick, but I feel like he's somebody, considering that we don't have a fullback, that could definitely help this team in some way.
Yeah, I don't think he's ready for to be that fullback yet. He still needs work on it as far as technique. I thought, I think his first snap as fullback, he kind of missed. He overled his block. He missed his block there. I mean, he sealed it. He sealed it good enough where the running back could make a play, but he's just not there yet. I think his role is going to be special teams. Like I said, he's doing a really good job as far as special teams work, punt coverage, kick coverage, being anything that the team needs him to be on special teams. I think he's doing that. As far as the offense goes, I don't think they're putting him. They're not featuring him. I would say that not enough. As far as putting him in the slot or putting him at the. He's more lining up as an H-back, where he's going out of the fullback position, which he's still having trouble with. I think they need to put him out wide and let him use those receiver skills that he has. I think he's a guy that's going to be on the edge. I'm not sure if he'll make it. I think they'll keep him on, but it depends on the numbers as far as the other positions go. He could be a guy that we slip onto the practice squad.
That's kind of what I'm hoping for, is that he gets on the practice squad, because I like this kid. I thought that
Mm-hmm.
it was a great pick, and I think that he can help this team win some games. I think right now we have the coaches that can teach him and put him in a position to be successful as well. So hopefully they keep him around. I know there are some, especially at fullback, we're kind of thin there. I think that he could potentially transition into that. You could use him, like you said, he's that hybrid player that can play in multiple positions, and he could be a scheming issue for a lot of coaches. So that's something to consider as well. So, for me, again, Howard Jones, special teams, I think he's done a great job, and he's worked his way onto the team. And, just guys that, when you have a new coaching regime come in, these coaches are not married to these players. They want players to help them win so they can keep their job. Now, what we've seen from Howard Jones is a guy that's worked very hard to stay on his team. Jude Barima, another guy, worked very hard, went into the offseason, came down here to Arizona to work out his shutdown U, work on his technique, work on his footwork, work on his speed. And you can tell how polished he looks in that secondary now. And, he was a starter in some points with Lovie Smith defense, but we see where he's worked himself into a position on this team. So these are guys that have worked hard. They want to be on this team. They want to play, and they want to win.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you bring up a good point in Jude Albarima. I thought he's been a guy that's been pretty good on special teams. I thought he's making plays. And again, he's going to be one of our go-to guys as far as in the defensive backfield. Get a lot of time as far as the nickel or playing that fourth corner, rotating in and out. So hats off to, Jason Light for finding this guy. Guys like Howard Jones, guys like Adam Humphries. Those are the guys that win you football games. And, again, Adam Humphries, let's go to him. I thought he was tremendous. I thought he played his best game so far as the preseason goes. And, getting that punt return, that was a well-designed punt return. I mean, that was perfect. They set up the wall, and he pretty much just had to run down the field. So that was good to see. And Jameis missed Humphries one time, but and Humphries missed him too. He should have caught that one ball. That would have made his night perfect. But he's been a great guy to have on this team, and he's going to have a big year, I think, too.
And while you're talking about Adam Humphries, I think Adam Humphries did nothing but solidify what Dirk Cutter was saying. Dirk Cutter said, "Hey, this is my number 3 guy," and he said it for a reason. And we saw that on the game on Friday. This guy made plays. He got open. He made the most of his opportunities. And that's kind of what we were talking about last week when we were telling fans to watch these games and look at who's making plays. That's what's important right now. Statistics, you can throw them out the window as far as I'm concerned right now. These guys are trying to make the team, and it's important that we see what they're able to do when they're given the opportunity to play. And I would say the vast majority of these players have made the most out of their opportunities to play. And that's what I'm excited about. Just the idea that these guys are working hard to play on this team. The fan bases and, the NFL as a whole, a lot of times overlook the Tampa Bay Buccaneers because of the history of losing and the history of the turnover in coaches and general managers, so on and so forth. Now, you've got players that want to be here. They want to play. They want to make this team. And that, to me, is very exciting. I think the culture as a whole is really changing from what it used to be, and that sometimes takes time, but it's good to see that progression. So hats off to whatever the coaching staff is doing and saying. They're doing a great job. They're leading these guys to where they need to go.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, going back to Humphries, I mean, he was this last year, he was 8th on the depth chart. He got cut And the Bucs were fortunate enough to bring him back. I mean, ever since throughout the season, he just keeps getting better. And hats off to him. I mean, it just shows hard work and keep putting that time in and know what you're doing on the field and be accountable. That's what's going to make you successful.
Yeah, most definitely, man. I mean, that's the key. And another thing, while we're talking about this, and I was going to save it for later, but I might as well bring it up now, are the penalties. 3 penalties.
Yeah.
25 yards. That is what I wanted to see. I know this team is capable of doing that. And I've heard the argument, and I think I've brought this up before, of other teams like New England, like Seattle, like when San Francisco was good, how San Francisco was with penalties. These were teams that were capable of overcoming the mistakes and winning games. Tampa is back to where they're trying to learn how to win games. So these penalties are catastrophic, whereas for other teams that are in a position to where they can overcome this, they don't have to worry about it. So hats off to the coaches again. That discipline is very important. The accountability, as you mentioned, is very important. So let's hope that as this season progresses, we see more of that. We see this foundation that's being built. We see the current progression for that as the season goes on.
Yeah, absolutely. And let me touch on the penalties. It's just guys are afraid to mess up. I would say that they don't want to mess up, and they're being accountable. They don't want to for their leaders as far as Jameis Winston, Gerald McCoy, Vontae David. That the whole team, as far as the team goes, is buying into being accountable because they don't want to let their leaders down. They don't want to let the coaches down. And that's what you have to build as far as a foundation, as far as a team about, do your job as, Bill Belichick says. That's what it's about. And you guys are doing that. They're buying in as far as what the coaches are telling them. They're making sure that if they do make a mistake, they're doing their best to correct it, to fix it, because that's what it comes down to. It's about fixing your mistakes and getting better and becoming consistent. And once you become consistent, you can start winning games and start winning championships, and that's what we want.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing. Dirk Cutter is preaching being competitive. And when you have back-breaking penalties, that doesn't make you competitive, especially when you don't have the ability to overcome that to win games. So just what we're seeing, I hope this is what we have to look forward to in the season. What you saw going back to the just a little bit for a minute, I want to go back to the Philadelphia Eagles game of last season. You saw where the running game was working, the passing game was working, the defense was working, everything was working in place, and you knew you had the talent to have a competitive team. This year, I think they've upgraded on so many positions that it's going to put them in an even better position, barring any injuries, any catastrophic injuries, put them in a position to where they can win some games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, this team is still young, but we're just going to keep getting better because I finally feel, as far as the coaching staff goes, we have the leaders in place as far as the players, and they're making sure these guys are staying on top of it. And the best thing is these guys are hungry to win, and they're driven, and that's what you got to have. And I think we have the right combo as far as that goes. But if we can, we forgot one guy to talk about as far as special teams, and that's Roberto Aguayo. I thought he was outstanding. I mean, best game so far, and it was just great to see that. We're overreacting, to the couple of misses he's had. The guy's a rookie. He's going to make mistakes. He's going to miss. He's not going to be perfect. But it was just great to see him, as far as a confidence boost, go out there and be 6 for 6, and drive the ball with power. And I think he's fine. Yeah, he's not going to make every kick this season, but he's going to be there. He's going to be there when we need him.
Yeah, absolutely. And just you could see the look of confidence after he got that first kick out of his system. You could tell when he came on the field, there was no doubt that he was going to nail those kicks. And that's the
Mhm.
kind of thing that I'm excited about is getting your issues worked out during the preseason, going into the regular season and not having to worry about those kind of things. So once again, Roberto Arguello, he's gonna. I'm on his side. I'm one of those guys that's hoping that he's able to silence the critics, and that's a big thing for me is making sure that he is successful because I have faith in the general manager and what he's been able to do. I think with him having the full reins, if he can have a successful season, some more successful than last year, I think it will really reflect on how good of a general manager he is. And I personally have my suspicions that he's the guy that's going to do good with free agents and draft picks alike.
Uh, Jason Light, we talk about him all the time on Real Bucs Talk. We can't say enough of him. I think he's just a football guy. He understands the game. He knows how to, and he's proven it so far. Throughout his, you know, throughout his tenure, he's found guys. Whether it's through the draft, through free agency. Yeah, not all the free agents have panned out, but you don't expect them to. I mean, you build the team through the draft, and that's where he's landed, so far as making this team, making this core. You build them through the draft, you re-sign them, and that's where you get your foundation from. And he's done a great job of that.
Now, one question I do want to ask you, and this is kind of with when Lovie Smith, when Jason Light first came in, and I've heard this rumor. I haven't heard it substantiated, but I've heard that Jason Light handled the draft picks and Lovie Smith had a lot more say-so with the free agents. And I've heard that time and time again. I've never heard anything that really proved it one way or the other. But that's kind of where I was going with my previous statement was that Jason Light is a GM. He is 100% the GM. So the decisions he makes, whether it's the draft, whether it's free agents, whether it's the salary cap, these are all his decisions to make. He doesn't have to go to the head coach. I mean, he can get the input from the head coach, but I think that what you're seeing now is Jason Light with full control here, as a general manager should have.
Yeah, I mean, I'll go back to your question as far as Lovie Smith. That first offseason, they were just trying so hard to win now. Lovie wanted to win that first year to get the fan base as far as back on the winning side, and went out and got some guys that just weren't desired enough to put in the time and be Buccaneer men. Michael Johnson, Anthony Collins, they were soft, and then you look at Altron Werner. Yeah, he didn't have a great year that year, but he was in the wrong scheme. He's not a cover 2 corner. Just a couple guys. And then, 2015, they brought in a lot of Chicago Bears as far as Harry Melton, Tim Jennings, Mike Jenkins, Bruce Carter.
Right.
Yeah, Major Wright, who unfortunately got let go. But
and I do want to ask you about him in a few minutes.
Yeah, sure. But going back to full control, who has control? It's Jason Light's team. He's got control. It's his decisions, and it was his decisions in 2014. But I think Lovie Smith kind of perceived him to go in a different direction as far as trying to win now, trying to a little too quickly instead of the way he likes to do things as far as getting more so to scheme, fit more so to as the team as a whole, as far as chemistry goes. But the way Jason likes to build his team is through the draft, and he's shown that so far, and he's doing a great job there. So if he's not going to hit in free agency, I don't think it really matters. You like to get a couple free agents that work out, and I think this offseason he's done that, especially with Robert Ayers and Brent Grimes.
Yeah.
I thought those were great moves, and guys that just make sense on this team. And then in the draft, I mean, he's killed it. I think he's done a great job. So I think he'll be fine. That's in
I
the past.
Yeah, and you know what? I agree with that. I think that Jason Light has been a personnel guy all along, and I think that he's done a great job. And what I want to see, and what we're seeing right now this season and moving forward, is he's the guy that's making all the decisions. Whereas Lovie Smith was hired first, then you brought in your general manager. So now we're in a place where the general manager is that guy that's making the calls. And like you said, he's hit it out of the park in a lot of cases with a lot of the players that he's brought in. And we'll be able to see a little bit more of what his draft is about this year with players, second year players like Jameis Winston, and players like Quan Alexander, players like Charles Sims, that Kevin Pamphile, players that Jason Light was able to bring in and help this team to really be successful. Where in the past decade, we've seen so many free agents and so many draft picks that failed, didn't make the mark, the scheme. And it's just so frustrating to think about all that wasted money, all that wasted time. And now it's very refreshing to see somebody who's actually a personnel guy and not an ex-swimmer, who can actually pick and choose exactly who we can get in here to help this team win.
Yeah, exactly. And let me just throw this question out there. What if Jason Light was hired first? Would Lovie Smith be the coach? I don't think he would have chosen him. So I think Jason Light finally has his guy as far as the head coach, a guy that understands as far as playing to guys' strengths. He's got his defense coordinator, Mike Smith. So he's got a great staff around him. He's got his personnel team that is just tremendous. He's got his scouts. So, you throw that out there, you look at it that way. But I think Jason Light's fine. I think this team is heading in the right direction. When you get a guy like Jameis Winston, that's going to make things easier. So, limit for this team going forward.
Absolutely, man. I'm right there with you. I 100% agree. And when you look at this team, you got to be excited. I know every year we have expectations of what this team should do. We haven't really had a good winning stretch since the 10-6 season with Raheem Morris, and even prior to that, it's just been a long time where we've had successful wins. Tampa has the talent. Now we have to put the toe to leather and let's get some wins. So what I wanted to do now, and I talked to you before. I told you we were going to try this. I wanted to put you in a hot seat. I got 10 questions. And what I was going to do is I'm going to set this for 60 seconds here. And I'm going to ask you 10 questions, and we'll see how you do. And,
Okay.
Basically they're going to be Bucs questions or football related. And actually I didn't for you because this is your first time. I am going to make them all football related or all Bucs related. So
Okay.
let me know when you're ready. If you need a second to think
I'm
about
ready.
it or whatever, just let me know.
Yeah, let's go. Let's go.
All right. First question: favorite Bucs player.
Derek Brooks.
Second question: greatest all-time Bucs player.
Derek Brooks.
Greatest running back for the Bucs.
That's a tough one. Greatest running back. I'll go old school. I'll go Ricky Bell.
All right. Greatest play in Bucs history.
There's a lot of them. I'll change it up. I'll go 2000 game. Sean King gets the ball from work done on a lateral. I thought that was great. 19-yard scramble. So.
All right.
Yeah.
Greatest Bucs coach. And that's it.
I said John Gruden. So
Okay, all right. So you got 6 out of 10. That's awesome. That's awesome.
okay.
I'm going to go ahead and hit you with the other questions just to see what you would say.
Okay.
All right. Who should be in the Ring of Honor next?
Let's see. They got who's this year? John Lynch and
I think it's just
yeah,
John
John
Lynch.
Lynch. Yeah, I would say Tony Dungy. I think. Well, you know what? I think they're putting him in, but uh, did they already put him in All Star?
Yeah, I'll start in.
Yeah, I'd probably say Rondé Barber.
Okay. All right. That's cool.
Mhm.
All right. Next question. Big Sombrero or Ray J? You mentioned that you've never been to the Big Sombrero, so it would have to be Ray J on that one. Last
Yeah, Ray
question.
J. Yeah, for sure.
This would have been the hardest question for you. Tony Dungy or John Gruden?
Mm. I still go John Gruden. I thought Tony Dungy was just too lax as far as the team goes. He needs to be. He held a high standard for the defense, but as far as the offense, he didn't hold a higher enough standard as far as what they needed to have done.
All right.
Gruden
Well,
was the guy.
well, my friend, you made it through the hot seat. You got 6 out of 10 questions. That is pretty good.
All right.
So, what I wanted to do, we've got about, I'd say, 8 minutes left here. I wanted to get your thoughts. I wanted to hear about some of the articles that you are working on for the readers out there. What kind of things? Oh, and there's another question just popped in my head. I know a fan asked me about this earlier today. When is the deadline for the 53-man roster?
It's going to be Saturday. I believe Saturday 4 o'clock.
Right. Okay. Well, that works. All right.
Yeah.
So, as I was going back to what I was gonna ask you originally, let's hear about
Yeah.
some of the articles that Real Bucs has, and not just you, but your partner Mark. What kind of articles do you have coming up here for us as Bucs fans?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, we're just going to be, breaking down this Redskins game, trying to see, probably do a, 53-man roster projection. We kind of already know, as far as me and my partner Mark, we know who's going to make the team. As far as what we think, so we'll have that coming out. Redskins game. Looking at other players too that's available as far as free agents go. Think could help this team, especially in the perceived weaknesses as far as receiver safety area. And then as we get closer, I mean, really, 2 weeks away from the opening game, we'll start breaking down Atlanta Falcons. So yeah, I mean, we're just ready to keep it going here.
All right. So let's give the fans one name of a player that they should be watching for in this wet pre-hurricane, pre-tropical depression game tomorrow. Who should they be looking for?
I mean, I'll start with the obvious: Kenny Bell, Jonathan Banks, guys that are still fighting to make this team. Banks might actually make the team as a sixth corner. It just depends on how many defensive backs they want to keep. Do they want to keep 10 or do they want to just keep 9? So he's the guy to watch for. Kenny Bell, as I mentioned. The receiver spot that's going to play. Bernard Reedy has a big opportunity. On the defensive side of the ball, I'd say, again, just keep watching Luke Rhodes. I just love the way he plays with instincts.
Yeah, I think another guy that should make the team as well.
As far as roster players, roster bubble players, defensive tackle is another spot. I think Cliff Matthews tomorrow. He's got a good chance. Maybe if he has some big plays tomorrow, I think he's got a chance as a fourth defensive tackle if we keep 4D tackles. It really just depends on how, as far as numbers, as far as that goes, who we're going to keep as far as positions. Do we go 10 offensive line? Do we go 6 receivers? That's the question. And again, like I said, on previous podcasts, the roster is fluid. I think we're going to be adding some guys as far as when guys get cut. So that's a thing to watch for, and we're going to try to cover that the best we can as far as potential players coming available, guys that we think are good fits for this team.
Yeah, and that's something I'm really interested in watching to see if there's anybody that can come in and unseat some of these guys that have earned spots and come in and make plays. So that's definitely something that I'll be looking for. And folks, please, if you can, instead of watching the ball, watch the players away from the ball. Watch what they're doing. Watch their technique. I mean, you may not know a lot about technique. Maybe you do. Watch what these guys are doing away from the ball, because that's what you're watching on game film. Yeah, they may be watching a certain play, but also when coaches and players break down game film, they're looking at what they were doing to make that play develop, or what they were doing that could have hurt that play. So that's something to always keep in mind. There's a lot to watch in one play, but, if you can, focus on that one player that you're interested in watching and just follow him the whole play and see how he does for a couple of series. So, I'm really excited. We're getting so close to the regular season, and I really believe that this Tampa Bay Buccaneers team is going to be better than what we've seen in the past. I think that they've got the discipline. I think that they are in a very good position to where they can win some games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I'll go off my thoughts for the season. I'm keeping it realistic expectations, but I see no less than 8 wins for this team. I think they have a chance. Again, it all goes down to staying healthy, finding the momentum as far as the season goes on. But I expect this team to get better as we go forward, especially throughout the season. This is in place. We have the coaching staff. And I think, the season is tougher, but as we go on, I think getting better. And I see this team, and that's all you can ask for.
And the one thing that I keep saying this is that a lot of people are going to sleep on the Bucs, and the Bucs are going to win some games that a lot of people don't think they should. And they're going to surprise some teams. And us as fans, we watch this team, we see what they can do. But I really believe that there are going to be some teams that Tampa's going to surprise.
Yeah, absolutely. You just like I always like to say, any given Sunday, it's about execution. It's about taking care of the football, and I think we're going to see us do a better job of that. And like you said, discipline. I think we're going to have it this year. I think penalties are going to be far and few. Play smart, fast, and physical, and I think that's what Dirk Cutter is trying to mold this team into, a team that plays aggressive but smart as well, and can score in the red zone. That's going to be the key to this season: red zone scoring, defense. That's what it's all about. And I think, like I said, we're just going to keep getting better because we have the coaches that are teaching these guys, and we're correcting our mistakes. And Jameis is going to be just fine. We got Doug Martin, who I say is our best offensive player. He's going to be the feature guy. So as long as we stay healthy in the key spots, we can win. We can win 10 games.
Do you see Charles Sims taking some of his reps this season?
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah.
Will we
Sims is going to be in there for sure. He's going to be utilized more to his strengths as far as being that receiver, being that dual threat running back that we need. But again, Doug Martin is still the main guy. He's going to get his 20 carries a game, and be the key to this season. I think we have the offensive line designed for it, and like I said, have a big year just because him and Jameis are on that same page, along with Vincent Jackson and all the other weapons that we have. So it's just going to be fun to watch.
Yeah. And another exciting thing, which I really haven't gotten a chance to mention, J.R. Sweezy and Lewis Murphy have been taken off the PUP list. So, exciting things, healing and getting ready at the right time, because we can definitely use all the help at wide receiver we can get. So, until somebody steps up or until we can get somebody, which it's looking like we're going to work with what we have until the draft next year. I took your advice. I've been looking at a lot of these wide receivers that we're going to be seeing in college football this fall. And it's really exciting to see a lot of these wide receivers that are going to be available to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the draft next year. So really exciting times. I want all the Bucs fans to please be careful out there. This type of weather is nothing to play with. In my years living in Tampa, I've seen so many times where things get flooded out just by a large amount of rain. So everybody stay safe and try to do the best you can not to get caught up in anything. So that's pretty much it for me. Can I get your final thoughts?
Yeah, final thoughts for this game. I just want to see execution tomorrow. Hopefully, the second team and the third team offense can move the ball effectively, plays out there, and hopefully guys that are trying to make this team, play their best game, get a good opportunity to showcase their skills. Again, even if they are cut, it's still game tape for another team. So, just showing, good tape out there. And again, even if they're cut, they could find their way back to, the Buccaneers at some point this season. Exactly. So I just want to see that. And then as far as the season go, I'm just excited to see what this team is going to bring. I think we're just going to see a vastly improved football team as far as offense, defense, and special teams. As far as I think it's going to be the biggest thing that we're going to notice as we go on. Game plan adjustments. I think second half adjustments are going to be a thing now, where we can look forward to. Guys are going to be playing to their strengths, which is going to be exciting. So yeah, overall, I'm just ready for the season to start. Let's have no injuries tomorrow. Let's stay healthy, and guys just play their best game and hopefully show something to these coaches.
That's right, man, and that's what it's all about, is being able to make the plays, because as Jason Light mentioned at the end of last year, he wants to win now. So I think he's put quite a team together to start putting us in that direction to win. So, based on all that, I appreciate all your input. Everybody, if you get a chance, please check out Real Bucs Talk. It'll definitely be worth the read. These guys, Mark and Michael, both do an awesome job talking Bucs football, and it's something that everybody should get a chance to check out. For me, my final thoughts, I'm glad it's football. All the madness in the world, we can put it aside for a Sunday and a Monday, and I guess a Thursday too. And, focus on something that is fun and exciting for all of us. Root for your team. Well, that's pretty much it for me. I'm Gene, Super Heavyweight. Once again, you can reach me at Super Heavyweight. And my guest, Michael Pless. Thank you all for joining us, and everybody have a good night.